Yeah, that,
Alright, so I've come to the conclusion that America is bipolar. And what I mean by this is America is full of all these problems that are really just paradoxical in nature. I know, oh Nathan, that's a big word, how'd you look that up? Well, I use Google. But anyway, so America is paradoxical on some of its things that it does. So I'm going to give you a few examples that I've come to realize. One of which is public housing. Okay? Public housing is a great idea. Don't get me wrong. If I went and told Jesus about public housing, he'd be like, that's great, put poor people in housing. But when you look at the results of public housing and you see the crime, the poverty, the drug dealing, and the prostitution, and all the things that come out of public housing, it kind of shows that when the government tries to do this sort of thing, it doesn't work. And again, it's a great idea, it's a great idea, but it just doesn't work because the results are horrible. Now, what about something else? What about minimum wage? Oh, Nathan, how can you be against minimum wage? The reason I'm against minimum wage is because if you want to offer someone $5 to do a job and they're willing to accept it, then that's their choice. That's their freedom of choice. And when you start making all these minimum wage laws, you make large legitimate companies actually lay some lower end people off. And then you get a lot of companies that hire illegal immigrants and pay them under the table and avoid taxes, which hurts us all in the long run, instead of just simply putting them on their payroll and paying them a lower wage that they'll accept. So minimum wage, again, is one of those non-intuitive type things where you think minimum wage is a great idea, but what actually happens? Less people work because of minimum wage. And that's just the reality of it. What else? Like for years and years, from the 50s on, they told us that smoking was good for us. That 3 out of 4 doctors said you should smoke this brand of cigarette. And we, the American people, bought it. And after decades of people dying from cancer, finally we came out and made them all admit that it caused cancer. And then, after that, we suddenly have been getting less and less. Wow, kids are noisy tonight. Hope they don't figure out I'm out here. Okay, so then another one that's an interesting thing is corn subsidies, okay? We pay people to grow corn that we don't really need, and it forces the price of corn down because we just give them money. So we're making all this free corn, and now we have to find out ways to deal with the free corn. What are we going to do with it? Well, guess what? We shove it in all our food. We feed our cows corn. We have to give them antibiotics because the cows aren't supposed to eat corn. They're supposed to eat grass. We put corn syrup in everything we eat. We make cornmeal and make things out of cornmeal. Everything we make in this stupid country is made out of corn. And guess what now? A couple decades later, we're the most obese country on earth. We have more gymnasiums than we've ever had before. We have more workout routines than ever before. We're more kind of focused on being thin, but guess what? We keep eating all this corn-fed crap. We're a corn-fed nation, and we need to do something about it. But again, there's no money in taking the corn away. There's money for all these big companies to keep on getting all this cheap corn and feeding it to us and killing us and giving us heart attacks. So it's a paradoxical relationship. We know corn makes us unhealthy, but nobody's willing to say it, just like the cigarette thing. Nobody wants to say it. Someday, our great-grandchildren are going to look back and go, how did they eat everything made out of corn and not know it was bad for them, Mommy and Daddy? And how did they smoke cigarettes and not know it was bad for them? Well, it's because people told us that it wasn't bad for us. And we, just like idiots, went along with it. Okay, what's another paradox? Okay, this one's a personal one, of course, it's a gun channel. The idea that taking away everyone's guns will make you safer, which again is a very simplistic and easy way to approach the matter. He took a gun and hurt that person. Therefore, if we take the guns away, that'll end, that'll stop. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way it works. We've been hurting each other since the dawn of man, and we're going to continue to hurt each other. The only difference is what tool we're going to choose to use. Now, being that the gun is a highly effective tool, that is probably what is going to be used most often in this country because we have freedom and we're going to be able to get those. On the flip side, if you take guns away, who will then have guns? The police and the criminals. And when the police and criminals are the only two elements that have guns left, they prey upon us, the unarmed citizens, and hope that we call and hope the police get there in time, but they'll be so overwhelmed. Now, what's more effective against a criminal? To call the police and hope they get there in time so they can run away when they hear the sirens, or to have a gun and take care of it yourself? That's what the criminals are truly afraid of, is running into a homeowner who's going to shoot them. That's what keeps the criminals out of your house, is not the fact that the police might respond in 5 to 10 minutes, but the fact that you might respond immediately and shoot them. So, again, another paradoxical type of relationship in America where they're going to say, okay, this is very simple. Here, eat this. And you go, that does make sense, and that does taste good. But it's really killing you. And that's the way America is. We're full of these relationships where they tell us one thing, and really it's killing us on the back end over time. So do your research, and again, if they're coming out and telling you that this is a solution and this is good for you, be skeptical. Research it for yourself. Make up your own mind. So hope you enjoyed this. Have a good one.
Meep, meep.